I think Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse will probably be the best superhero movie of the year. But there's one I'm counting down to more and one I'm anticipating more, even though I don't think it'll be as good.
Mm.
And that is the Flash movie that comes out a few weeks later. Now, obviously, we'll bring up something about a certain a-hole, and we won't address this person again.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ezra Miller was found out as a horrible human.
He's an absolute supervillain.
Exactly.
He really is.
And, nice job kind of tanking this movie, which, Ben and Michael Keaton came back for, but whatever. And I would just say, I almost think someday we should have a segment we actually discuss, can you separate the art from the artist?
Yeah.
But I'll say this for the whole Ezra Miller situation. This movie is The Flash. It's not Ezra Miller the movie.
Yeah.
And I will say just for me, and some people will say they can't see this because of Ezra. And if you can't, I understand. But I will say I'm going to this movie to see The Flash. And for me, Ezra is just a stand-in for Grant Gustin, John Wesley Shipp, who are much better actors than Ezra, which we saw in Crisis when Grant and Ezra shared a scene together. But for me, even though I do think Ezra is pretty good as the Flash, but for me, it's just like Ezra is a stand-in. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I could watch this movie if it wasn't for Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
But, for me, it's just Ezra is a stand-in and just happens in real life. They're an asshole. So, once this movie's done, good riddance. Hopefully they never work in Hollywood again.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about this movie. I remember 2015, people getting emotional about Star Wars The Force Awakens before everyone kind of turned on it. But I remember people getting emotional with like Chewie, we're home.
Yeah, I didn't forget how people reacted to that movie at first.
Yeah. People get emotional of seeing like the actors return for their favorite movie franchise. And I was envious. I was like, you know what? Star Wars isn't my favorite franchise, but that's awesome for them. And we didn't really get that with No Way Home because they hid it in the marketing. And we also weren't looking forward to that movie.
Yeah, right. It wasn't quite the same.
Yeah. But I've always felt like I remember during that Star Wars Force Awakens time thinking, you know what mine would be? Michael Keaton returning as Batman. And I've been hoping for it for a while, whether it be Dark Knight Returns or Batman Beyond. And this movie, it's actually happening. And I'm not gonna lie, might have to bring some tissues because it might be an emotional moment seeing him on the big screen, actually in a new movie for the first time in our lives. Because the last one came out a year before either of us were here.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, we'll get this out of the way. So, obviously, Keaton's role in this movie is a bit different than it was when we talked about this movie last year. There's changes at DC. And last year we were talking about how, we also are going to see Keaton in Batgirl, which Warner Brothers scrapped because their CEO, David Zaslav, decided to just do a tax write-off instead. And said, we're not putting any movies that we don't believe in out. Which he also put out Don't Worry, Darling and Black Adam. So, I don't know. Maybe the dude whose career was milking 90 Day Fiancé isn't the best at judging what is quality movies. Obviously, it's a bit different. And we were also going to have a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton, which got scrapped. To which I say, well, if you're going to do a Joker movie outside the DCU, and you're going to still do Robert Pattinson's Batman movies outside the DCEU, you know what I would rather have than both of those? Even though I'd go see both those. You can do Michael Keaton's Batman Beyond movie, and I'll be honest, unless you have Michael Keaton doing it as old Bruce Wayne, I kind of don't know if there's really a point in doing Batman Beyond. But if you can do it, it would be so cool. But obviously, we don't know what's going to happen. They're changing this movie as we speak. They've been making some changes to the movie. There's actually one change that I think is very odd that I'll mention in a second. So we don't know. Maybe because we do know originally it ends where Keaton is the DCEU Bruce Wayne. Now, for all we know, they changed the movie to where he dies at the end, to where he turns evil, to where he gets erased from existence, or where he retires. So I'm going in knowing that, like, look, Michael Keaton returning as Batman is something I've wanted for so long that it can't possibly live up to expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going in just being like, this is not the same Batman from the Burton movies. This is a completely separate version. And he's an alternate version of Ben's Batman, but he is not the same version from the Keaton movies. We just have a few Easter eggs from the Burton movies, including the actor. So that's how I'm going into it. So I'm just like, well, at least we got Ben. At least we got Ben in the movie. So there's that. But if it's good, then I'll consider it a sequel. But I'm just considering it like right now, it's not. Also, for a movie called The Flash, let's be honest, everyone's most excited for Batman. We had Ben Affleck coming back one last time as Batman, which, I mean, this movie has the two actors I'd want to come back to play Batman the most appearing in it. And I'm looking forward to, for me, he is the best character in the DCEU. And I loved his relationship with Flash and Justice League, both versions. So I'm looking forward to that. And they have all the pieces. And I got to mention this too, because I don't know if I think people are really missing something. This Flash movie by Andy Muschietti brought back Keaton and Affleck, both of which are actors who famously walked away from the role. Yeah. In this script, Andy Muschietti's vision brought them back. So I think that really says something. And so this movie has so much going for it. It has all the pieces to be great. It has the Flash, who is my third favorite DC character, based on Flashpoint, one of the greatest DC storylines ever. You have Michael Keaton as Batman. You have Ben Affleck as Batman. So many great pieces. And it's actually pretty known in Hollywood that the movie's actually great. They've shown it to people, and it's gained a very, very good reaction. Like, I remember years ago before Batman versus Superman came out, seeing someone from like a pretty reliable place saying that Warner Bros. Was getting scared of the movie. And I was like, yeah, right. And then we saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
But like legit places like Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, Variety, they're saying that people are seeing this movie and that it's great.
Wow.
So, I mean, I would have loved to see more of Keaton and Affleck, but if this is it, wow, we are going out. It sounds like was something pretty special. So,
yeah.
Also, we don't know what is going to be the future of DC after this. This movie feels like it could be I hope it switches places with Aquaman, because if you're going to end the DCEU, this is the movie to end it with. Right. Especially with Ben Affleck's Batman. And there was something that came out, I think a week ago, that I think is an odd decision that we'll bring up. Because it's not a spoiler, it's just something that's come out. So, a few weeks ago, when Wonder Woman 3 was canceled, it was, in that report, it said that Jason Momoa, Henry Cavill, and Gal Gadot shot cameos for Aquaman. So the whole Justice League is in that movie, which again makes it feel like a proper finale to the DCEU.
Yeah.
But I think it was this week, a new report came out that because Wonder Woman 3 is canceled and the Henry Cavill Superman plans are canceled, they're taking them out. They're taking out Henry and Gal, which...
That's a little weird.
I'm just like, why would you do that? Because it's like, first of all, it would make it feel more like a DC universe movie crossover with them in it. And I
Yeah.
don't even like Henry Cavill as Superman, but it would feel like even more of a DC crossover to have them in it. And here's the big thing. If you are rebooting, having them there brings their versions closure. Because, well, I'm not a big fan of Henry Cavill as Superman. There are people who are. And I liked Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. And I would like to see her, even if it's for a cameo, bring it to a close. And I'm assuming they'll share their cameo will be with Affleck. So that would be cool to see too. Just the Justice League reunited, even for a quick bit. But
yeah,
I don't know why, because originally there was talk about removing them because why tease what you're not going to pay off? But it's just like, why not give the fans closure? So
yeah,
I don't know. But other than that, we're getting a Flashpoint movie with the two Batman actors I'd want to see come back to play the role the most. Maybe it'll be a disappointment. Maybe it'll be like, well, at least Affleck was good. Who knows? Maybe walk out and be like, oh my God, we finally got Batman 5. We finally got it after all these years of waiting. And you know
yeah.
what? I want to make this prediction / hope. If they're changing the movie around stuff, I think that because this looks like it'll be the last Michael Keaton Batman, I think the post-credit scene will be a Batman Beyond post-credit scene of Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne training Terry McGinnis, and they'll have Terry remake the opening of Keaton's Batman movie going after the two muggers on the roof and just like, who are you? I'm Batman. Something like that. So
Yeah,
there we
cool.
go with The Flash, which should be renamed Justice League Flashpoint because Batman's who most people is excited for. But
Yeah,
I wanted that whole thing about The Flash. So your
that's fine.
thoughts on the upcoming Flash movie?
Yeah, no, I don't have a ton of thoughts on this. It's not something I'm not. It's not something I'm necessarily looking forward to unless I hear that it's good and that I should see it. But I guess the last the 5 years plus of us making this show and learning about the ins and outs of how these big studio live action superhero movies get made, they all feel like they are a Frankenstein monster of things that were shot and actors and legal contracts and stuff, rather than like a vision that someone had that was like carefully crafted in a particular order that
Gone are the
has to have
days
all these
of Burton's
scenes.
Batman or Raimi's Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's just it's just it's a seeing the sausage get made kind of thing that makes me. It's just another thing that is I'm tumbling towards my second era of being just completely burnt out and over. I'll say like big studio like cinematic universe superhero movies, because I've since I've also gained in these few years being able to have certain things like the Into the Spider-Verse now franchise is different and distinct and feels like a passion. Um like shows, seeing Mask of the Phantasm for the first time, also the Harley Quinn show, and I have lots of other things to make superheroes something that I still care about and like. uh yeah, I'm not looking forward to any superhero movie this year except for
Even
Across the
though this
Spider-Verse.
one brings back Michael Keaton.
I am I, I'm struggling to, I guess, like just I guess I once it's out and there's a better idea of what this entails, like I just don't have really an ability to visualize in my head how this is going to happen in a way that I would care about. But I think if I were to just actually be forced to sit there and watch it, I would probably be extremely happy to actually see it.
Yeah, I'll just be honest. I really hope this makes up for the disappointment of the Batman because I'm way more excited for this
Yeah.
one last ride with Affleck and Keaton than I am any future
Mhm.
Robert Pattinson.
I mean, that could be the discrepancy between like the fact that I did like the Batman might be one reason why I'm just kind of like this completely separate vision that was like very like Matt Reeves and like you know, a very specific take was like, oh yeah, give me more of that. I realized what I've been missing, which was like distinct takes on things. Um
Like
so
Raimi's Spider-Man, Burton's Batman.
for sure those are very distinct. So
God, I miss
um
those days.
yeah. Um I just hope they're, you know, I'm hoping for stuff like that on the side if they're continuing with this choice. So, yeah, that's all I have to say on that one.